Monday once again. Let's take a look at a broad market scan for Setup Monday. What's going on? What am I doing? What am I thinking? What is the zeitgeist of the market here? So far, since all-time high, since the new all-time high, the new fresh all-time high in October, November, price really hasn't done anything. I know I don't have volume per day on here, but volume per day across the board for most coins has been abysmal so far, i.e., there hasn't been a lot of excitement and exuberance up here yet. Now that may change. I'm not positioned to be bearish. I'm not mentally bearish. I'm not ready to hit some stop loss triggers or any of that. Now, what I have to say in this video may come across as bearish, but because we are so low volume and doing a bunch of nothing everywhere, it's very easily more towards a coin flip 50-50 in my mind than a guaranteed retracement or mean reversion. In a vacuum, knowing nothing about anything, not knowing this ticker, not knowing what's going on in the world, not knowing political anything, the cloud is telling me, because of this TKC clamp, which has now formed and largely confirmed as these TK lines remain flat, which indicate a momentumless market. The longer we stay momentumless, the more toppy we start to look, the more people get nervous, the more people get sick of paying funding, the more people start to say, maybe this is a good short, and then things start to lean one way rather than the other. And that would bring us very likely to a 53, 54K price target. Is that 10K lower than here? Yeah, it is. Is it 15 to 20% lower? Probably. Do I think the bull market would be over in that case? No. Do I think it would be healthy? Not really. But if that's what needs to be done to get people back into the table, ready to keep buying again, I think part of this bounce we had in October, part of the problem was it was too fast, both in October and July. It was almost too fast for people to get properly positioned, because anybody who was seriously positioned at the beginning of the year either got flushed out, sold the bottom, or happily sold at break even on the way up. And now they don't want to buy higher. That's just my guess, right? Think about the general person, the general trader. Most people are terrible traders anyway, but for the ones that have half a brain, that's probably what they're doing. So they're probably sitting here like, yeah, I really don't want to buy all up here at all-time highs. There are much more concerning charts to me than BTC as far as not wanting to buy up here. So we're not sitting bearish by any means. We're above the 200, we're above the cloud, but we're setting up for what we've seen many times before in the cloud is a mean reversion potential. You know, I would call the same thing down here. It doesn't mean we can't go lower. It doesn't mean we can't go higher, but it is setting itself up for the potential for a mean reversion. So what that means here is, am I adding to any positions personally? No. Am I opening some 20x margin longs up here, hoping for a miracle? No. But am I closing anything up here? No. I think it's very much a wait and see as to what happens. 53K drop wouldn't surprise me based on how this sits currently and without volume. And the worst case scenario would be 50K, because that's where the 200-day moving average is. There's VPVR volume support here at 57 to 53, volume support at 47. So if we're below the daily cloud, let's say over the next week, if things go mega ultra turbo bear, then we're in trouble again for sure. I don't foresee that happening. Something else we can watch is open interest. A lot of people have been saying a lot of stuff about open interest. First things first, I don't trust half of the volume on most of these exchanges. Even exchanges that are quote unquote trusted, like Coinbase or Binance or any of these. I trust nothing anywhere. I trust nothing in US markets, nothing in Asia. So we can assume it's all real. Maybe CME is the most real of all of them because it's regulated, but a lot of this OI is goosed. It's fake. We know it's fake. We can look at the volume, the tick sizes, everything. We can look at all that stuff and conclude who's worse, who's better, but that's my first caveat. The second caveat is everyone's talking about how OI is at an all-time high. Yeah, it is. So is notional everything. Everything's at an all-time high. So, of course, volume's at an all-time high. Bitcoin prices are at all-time highs. Alt prices are at all-time highs. Stablecoin issuance is at all-time highs. So, yes, a lot of people are in the market. That doesn't concern me at all, honestly. I'd be probably more concerned if that wasn't the case. If OI was just sort of flat and hemming and hawing up here, that I think is more concerning to me. A lot of people are talking about funding as well. They're saying funding is too high. We got to get funding to come down. I don't think it's that bad personally. I'm not sitting here paying funding, but on some of these spots like FTX, funding is negative, which means shorts are paying longs on FTX right now, at least for BTC. For ETH, funding is fine. For a lot of these coins, funding is fine. So I don't see the concern personally. I don't think it's a big deal. Obviously, it's something to watch. Again, OKEx, Binance, Huobi, I don't trust anything there. Bybit, especially, I don't trust anything there. Let funding go to infinity on those places. I could care less. None of those exchanges are real to me based on especially margined anything. Something else to watch loosely is Grayscale premium to discount. As these premiums close and get closer to parity and potentially go into premium instead of discount. That's usually a good barometer for how legacy is feeling about crypto in general. It's not a perfect one-to-one, but ETH, for example, over the past 2 weeks had been getting closer and closer and closer to parity with a slight premium. BTC still has negative 13 to 15. ETC had like negative 52 at one point. So this is loose, I know, but it's something to watch. If these go deeply negative before price does anything, then I get concerned. You definitely want to see these trend back towards positive, and yeah, ETF stuff influences this, and there's all sorts of other stuff going on here, but just something else to watch in the periphery. So as we're going down the market cap list, as we go to the first altcoin on the list, Ethereum, same analysis. The same analysis for really most of these charts. Most of these charts look very similar. You've got highs up here on a bear div. BTC, I didn't mention it, but technically that is a bear div as well. That's trying to sort itself out here, but you have a kind of a just constant bear div from October to November. Constant just upward channel that looks super unnatural. I don't want this to pull back. I'm not positioned for it to pull back, but if it does, it's 37.50 somewhere in there. And if it's below 3K for any reason, then we're in trouble. But 37.50 is a good dip buy, and same with BTC. If I say 54 is a target, that's a good spot for bids for me. Not investment advice. I'm just reading the chart. 54K BTC, 3,700 ETH. You could have bids at the previous highs here, local highs. That'd be fine too, but on mean reversion, it's definitely 37. On the 200-day moving average, it's like 32, something like that. But I don't think we get that low on a stab down. Ideally, we take a quick stab down on all this stuff and then resume the uptrend, Dalai Lama, or whatever the kids say these days. This is BNB. Trend-wise looks phenomenal. I didn't mention it again. ETH trend-wise looks phenomenal. This thing looks completely fine. It could very easily just not mean revert here, which is another reason why I don't think there's any reason to do anything just yet. There's no reason to take drastic measures here. I'm not adding on leverage. I'm not adding on spot, but at the same time, I'm not going to reduce anything anywhere either. For BNB, trend looks fine. Like I said, 50, 200. It's above that. It's above the cloud. It has a TK C-clamp to equilibrium-ish. It's not super concerning, but if this retraces to 500, it wouldn't surprise me. Again, that's a dip buying opportunity. A mini bear div here on lower time frames, but ultimately this thing wants to go to 1K. I think Binance is in trouble from a regulatory perspective. Eventually, when that catches up with them, price will probably do fine in the interim. So, keep that in mind, right? Like if regulators decide today's the day and they wake up and they say, all right, time to announce that Binance announcement where we're shutting down Binance US or something. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying there's going to be some sort of drastic regulatory thing. DeFi is also going to get hit with this eventually, probably at the beginning of 2021, both in Europe and the US. But just don't be surprised. Don't go absolutely insane on leverage on this stuff. One, because technically it looks like it's ready for a potential mean reversion. But two, especially BNB and DeFi, because they are poised for some regulatory stuff. Not enough people look at Tether or talk about Tether on a market rate basis. It is worth billions of dollars based on the supply. And you can follow the market rate of USDT USD on Kraken. This is the 8-hour. There are some loose correlations historically with Tether above or below $1. This is the price above or below $1 up here. This is Bitcoin price. And the yellow highlights are Tether below 9998 or something like that. So you can see ever since basically the bottom, Tether has not held below 9998 on an 8-hour candle. So if things get hairy, if things get dicey, if things get scary, if there's blood in the street, check this out. Just check out the price of Tether. Does Tether go below 9998 for a decent amount of time anywhere on Kraken or wherever you want to look? Doesn't matter to me. Because for whatever reason, recently, it's been the bottom. Previously, it was the top, and maybe it's just a bottoming or toppy signal. Maybe it's not one or the other. Maybe it's both. Something to watch for. Currently, fine. Currently above $1 slightly. Nothing scary there. Solana has actually gone quite slow relative to Bitcoin and ETH. This is the 12-hour, but it also has that mean reversion potential type stuff. It's pretty far away from the 200 period moving average on the 12-hour. And it's getting pretty close to its target anyway, which would be the measured move from the previous high to low. Call this a cup and handle, call it whatever you want. It's very close to that target. I wouldn't expect 300 before a bit of a cool down. So to me, the upside on this is limited in the near term, especially if you think everything else is going to pull back. I think this is just a wait and see. I have bids at like 200, 220 down here. Anyway, if it hits, great. If it doesn't, cool. Doesn't bother me either way. Trend-wise, though, this is completely fine. ADA, trend-wise, looking a bit rough below the cloud. Starting to get some decent VPVR resistance. Not a ton of VPVR support until $1.15, somewhere down there. The 200-day moving average is around 180. This is definitely not a chart I'd be looking to long anytime super soon until it's back above the cloud. So already on trend metrics, it says this is in trouble. And whether or not this thing just bleeds for another month or drops immediately below the 200-day moving average at $1.80 doesn't really matter. It's just not a longable chart. There are much better charts, even as we sit right now, with stuff looking semi-toppy than sitting in ADA based on trend. XRP even looks better than the ADA. It's above the cloud. It's above the 200. It looks fine. I hate both of them equally, but this one looks way better to me than ADA. Hasn't moved up yet. Hasn't moved up since August. And it's got a kind of crazy cup and handle situation here. Multiple cup and handle situations, inverted head and shoulders situation. XRP is also potentially getting hit with that SEC announcement as far as resolution of the charges. So that's something to just watch for in general. This isn't a screaming long, but it looks much better than Cardano. DOT is already starting to slowly pull back here. Kind of the opposite of Solana. DOT has more upside to me than Solana. Both charts look very similar. Both charts on trend look fine. For DOT, I like 32 as far as the pullback target. That kind of breaks the cloud mean reversion target here, which would be around 40. 32 is the 200-day moving average in the cloud. Whatever this ends up being, looks like a better buy to me. But ultimately, this thing probably wants to go 75. Doge looks surprisingly okay to me. Doge looks better than Cardano. Okay. If you want to gamble, not investment advice, for the love of God, but if you want to gamble, this is what I would gamble on. Just put it all on black, baby. Put it all on the Doge and ride it out. Trend-wise, it looks better than it's looked in months because it's above the cloud, above the 200. Maybe this thing dips below the 200 one last time, but it's got decent support here now at a quarter. The problem with trading Doge is that Shiba, whatever token scam, pump and dump, whatever you want to call it, is much easier to move because it's much less than a quarter. So price-wise, you don't have a strong integer bias with Doge like you used to have. Shiba is the new Doge because of that integer bias. And the chart actually looks pretty good. I'm not going to touch this with a 5,000 foot pole, but trend-wise, it's starting to break into the cloud on the 4-hour. I wouldn't look at this on much higher time frames because this thing moves so fast anyway. But it's starting to get out of this volume resistance. It's starting to get into the cloud. And the target is whatever, I don't know what this is in dollars, but the target is whatever this level is here, based on VPVR, essentially the previous local highs somewhere up there. But trend-wise, this looks fine. I would long this over Cardano. Luna has kind of done, I'm not going to say nothing, but it's only slowly ground up since August. So it's definitely bullish, but it doesn't have strong bullish continuation. It just has normal market bullish continuation. It doesn't look like crypto in that it's just this slow, continuous grind up. Pullbacks I like 40 or 30, but otherwise it looks completely fine. I just wouldn't expect a miracle there. AVAX made new all-time highs over the past couple days. I like 75, 80 as far as the pullback target, whatever the 50 is here. Definitely has I'm going to say bear div just the entire way because RSI really didn't make a new higher high here. This thing did survive a rising wedge though, so I'll give it that. It does look fine on trend, but I'd much rather buy it on a dip than buying it up here. LTC looks better than Cardano to me, and something else I would probably not trade ever again unless there was some crazy setup. But LTC had a bit of a week or two going from 200 to 250 rather quickly. far as a pullback target, 220 or 180. You know, the problem with alts like this that are thinly traded and nearly forgotten is they have extremely high volatility. Nobody wants to hold on to this stuff. It's hot potato, it's musical chairs. People don't trade this because they believe in the future of LTC, much like most altcoins. They trade stuff like this because number go up and they want to take profit. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying look at this chart. Look at the volatility here. That's what it's showing you. Showing you anytime anybody's up, they want to sell. It's like Tezos. I'm up. I better sell. I better sell. I never know when this thing's going to crash back down. So it wouldn't surprise me if this thing was sub 220 if everything else pulled back pretty significantly. So I'm cautiously optimistic for this week. Not going to expect miracles. We could also just do nothing for another month. Not ideal because Q4 is our time to party, but I'm not going to rule that out either. Lastly, let me just mention the ETH-BTC fund and DeFi portfolio that I trade for Techemy Capital and Enzyme.finance, a non-custodial portfolio management tool where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM performance allocation here. Sometimes I'm in Volts on YearnComp or Aave, and you can also see the trades in the trades tab down below. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.